us with that change that comes from above, Lord. That presence of your holiness, convicting us of sin and righteousness and judgment to come, but also glory in Christ. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for hearing our prayer this morning. In Jesus' name I ask it all. Amen.
Okay. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
Oh, that old rugged cross, so despised by the world, has a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to bear it to dark Calvary. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown.
In that old rugged cross, stained with blood so divine, a wondrous beauty I see. For the dear Lamb of God left his glory above to pardon and sanctify me. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. 2. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to make a little quick announcement. Happy Sabbath. How's everybody doing this week? I just want to let you guys know that we really have to keep in mind that we have to do social distancing. Okay, can you hear me now? All right, that's better. I can't breathe into this thing. Let's please keep in mind that we have to do social distancing, right? Families, you guys can stick together because you guys trust.
Is this great? Turn it down because I'm already going to sound like I'm in a tin can. And it's me, of course. All right, I remembered something when I was sitting in the office because I just finished my first draft of this morning. I've been working on it for months. And so there's a text in here from Ecclesiastes that I have to move. So hang on a second and let me move it. There it is. All right, I'm not on the floor. Turn me down some more, okay? Does it say the rock in the rain? Okay. It's up? Okay. All right, so remember, friends, Matthew's right. I know it's really hard to get into a new rhythm together here, but let's think about it with relationship to a visitor who comes in our door. There are a lot of people that are wondering, where is God in all this? So if somebody comes in our door, we just want them to know that we're making the most of keeping them safe, right? And so whatever our feelings are about these things, we do it for one another. So I just want to give you a tip. I get one of these every day at my office because my interactions in the community now involve 32 patients that I'm taking care of on my campus, and they all get a negative COVID-19 test when they come to campus. So the only inroads to this crazy for half an hour, and then they are disinfected, and then you can use it again. And so I say, let's not throw it in the landfill before we have to, so there's a little tip. So that's why I'm leaving this on the desk, which I wouldn't do if I'd worn it already today. It's disinfected, and I'll be using it later. Okay, that's my tip, my COVID tip. How are you? It's really good to see you. It's been a really, really long time. And so let's just get into the Word, because that's what we need, right? With all that's going on in the world. All right, so one more moment of prayer and we'll get started. Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to gather, for the freedom to worship, and we just pray now that you would teach us what worship will mean for the next few months, for the year. We don't know, but we just pray that you would grant us more than the enemy wants to steal from us. And so we just pray it'll make us wise and effective in the world that we're living in Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to be in the book of 2 Samuel. And this is heavy, so I'm sorry, but that's just once meditating on it. And this is my first draft, so you're going to teach me things while we talk back and forth and do what we always do, and it'll be better for having been here and talking it out with you. So are you ready? Okay. And it came to pass while there was what? All right, you guys are just going to have to be very enthusiastic because there's so few of us that you're going to make me feel lonely. All right, there was war between the house of Saul and the house of, very good, that Abner made himself strong for which house? The house of Saul, okay, 2 Samuel chapter 3. So King Saul, he had a certain air about him. If you met him, you would have thought he was like, bigger than life, right? That's pretty much what we would have thought about King Saul. And then there was King David, and he had like a really different kind of vibe, I think. More of an introspective vibe, more of a philosopher, more of an artist. And then there's this guy, Abner. Okay? So Abner was Saul's military commander. So if you met, a little imposing, he'd have an intimidating sort of presence. Abner, okay? So we all know what happened to King Saul. It's a story for another day, although it's going to play prominently in our story today. King Saul, did he live a long and happy life? He did not. He died. How did he die? On the field of battle, which seems pretty normal for him, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And so his son took over. So in the scriptures, sometimes they call this man Ishbosheth, or they call him Ishbaal. Okay, so either of those names is appropriate for the son who became king after Saul died. All right, so does everybody know where we are in biblical history now? Okay, so here we go. Now, Saul had a what? A concubine. So is a concubine a wife? Not really. If a concubine has children, do those children belong to the royal household? Yes, they do. If you give the king a son, man, that's good. That like assures your place, not only in the royal harem, but, those kids are important to the king. So a concubine, in some of your Bibles, the translation actually comes across as slave, but that's not, even though she was technically property, that wouldn't be the right translation of a concubine. She was not a wife, but she was someone important in that royal line where Saul was concerned. What was her name? Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. Now, it's interesting to me, and I'm not here to make any commentary about what it was like to be a woman in Bible times, but I just want you to notice that this woman's position, who she was, is defined by the men in her world. So she was Saul's concubine, and she was Aiah's daughter. And Ishbosheth, and I'm sorry for the young people that are in the audience because it's kind of a heavy topic, but Ishbosheth had a beef with Abner. Good morning, Pastor James. Good to see you. Ishbosheth had a beef with Abner, and what was his beef? Why have you gone into my father's concubine? Now, that's a very polite way to say, you know what it means, that he took her to himself in an intimate way. And so imagine this, your military commander, you've brought him into the throne room, and you just want to have this really easy peasy conversation with him. Easy peasy? Not at all. Not at all. Very difficult conversation. All right, so I just want you to notice, even though what was said about Rizpah in terms of the men in her world, who she was in this social strata of the royal household. She plays very prominently in what's happening. So Ishbosheth's question made Abner very angry. So basically he said to him, did you make Rizpah your girlfriend? So what's the big deal? What's the big deal if the military leader of your reign, of your region, of your royal household wants to make your father's concubine his girlfriend? Come on, y'all. It's me. I know you haven't seen me in a while, but what's up? What does it signify? What does it mean? Because if you don't know what it means, then the rest of the story doesn't make any sense. It means that Abner had a very high opinion of himself. He had some very lofty goals. Did he consider himself just a humble servant of his majesty? No. You're going to make Ishbaal's concubine, because if she was Saul's concubine, he now belongs to her. And if he made her his girlfriend, he is wanting power. He is wanting status. And he is possibly wanting what? The throne. And you and I both know what it's like for the head man to just be the figurehead for the power that's behind him or her. And so that's what's happening here. Ishbosheth's question made Abner very angry. Have I been behaving like some Judean dog? That's what Abner said. Now, where were they living? In the northern kingdom, which is named, this little dig that he gives to Judah. And so I noticed that. Have I been behaving like some Judean dog, he asks? Until now, I have been faithful to your father, Saul's family, to his relatives and his friends, and I haven't handed you over to who? David. He's got a very high opinion of himself. But now you charge me with a what? What's the crime? Begins with a T. Treason. You charge me with treason because of this what? Woman. So Abner's like, had it up to here. Now it's very interesting because the Bible doesn't actually tell us whether the accusation was true. What do you think? Probably, right? You know, remember that Shakespearean quote, methinks he doth protest. What? Too much. All right? So he goes on, God do so to Abner and more also if I do not accomplish for who? For David what the Lord has sworn to him, to transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and to establish the throne of David over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba, which is just another way of saying from the north to the south. Girlfriend? He's going to switch sides. He's going to switch sides because the house of Saul and the house of David are at war. Now, this last bit is to just give you some information about the reality of the power play between Ishbosheth or Ishbaal. Ishbosheth couldn't what? Say another word in response to Abner because he was what? He was terrified of him. So if you want to understand the nuances of what's going on here and then watch what happens, then Abner sent messengers to David to who owns this country? And he's talking about Israel, the northern half of the country. Who owns this country, he asked. And what's the answer to that question in Abner's mind? Me. Very good. All right? I own this country, he says. So make an agreement with me, and I'll support you and bring all of the north to you. Talk about Game of Thrones. Right? Little intrigue, little military strategy. The Bible's better than Hollywood. And just to let you know how it turned out for our poor man Ishbaal, and so in the end, it didn't turn out so well for the house of Saul. All right, so that's the groundwork. Everybody with me? Wasn't that cheerful? Sometimes the Bible isn't very cheerful, but that's okay because we can take it, right? Here we go. During David's reign, there was a what? A famine for how long, friends? 3 years. Now, we may end up like weathering SARS-CoV-2 for a number of years, right? Because we want it all to be done by the end of the year, but the odds that it's going to be, I hope it is, but the odds that the vaccine will be done, that it will be distributed, that everybody will be hunky-dory are low. That we're used to is different, and that was happening here in ancient times. During David's reign, there was a famine for 3 consecutive years. So David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord said, he gave the most interesting, unusual, cryptic kind of answer. What did he say? Because of Saul and his blood-stained family, because he murdered the Gibeonites. Really? What's that got to do with the weather? What in the world does that have to do with the weather? So friends, if you could imagine the green Pennsylvania countryside, which tends to reap beautifully for us as we're driving through, since most of us are not farmers, all of a sudden if you drive through, it's dead and dry and gone. And all the reserves are used up. And David smartly goes to the Lord and says, hey, what's going on with the weather, with the crops? And why did God say that there was a famine? Because of who? Because of Saul. Because he murdered the Gibeonites. Now, friends, this is a difficult concept for us to get our heads around. And if you're a student of the Bible, you've bumped into the terminology before, but I think as an American right now, I think you have to. I'm not here to pretend that I understand the heart and mind of God, but I am here to tell you that it is part of who God is. It is part of God's government, how he views things, how he deals with, I believe, all of the universe. And here it is. Are you ready? It's a big, long couple set of words. Corporate solidarity. Do you understand what that means? It means that in this, and we can say that's hard to understand, and we can say it isn't fair, and we can stomp our feet and fold our arms, but it's nonetheless true. God views you corporately in your family, in your community, in your land, on this planet. And sometimes there are things that are done that move the wheels of justice. And we're going to talk about whether they move fast or slow, that you get caught up in just because you are part of a unit that is in corporate solidarity. Are you with me? That there are things that happen. Think of our man Daniel. Okay, he's one of the heroes of the scriptures, is he not? Okay, a hero. When Nebuchadnezzar shows up on the border, does God say, oh no, we're not going to do that because my man Daniel, he's got it together? Did Nebuchadnezzar come? Did Nebuchadnezzar conquer? Did Daniel suffer? But the beauty of it is that in the middle of that corporate solidarity, now he gives Daniel a job. He says, look, I can't keep this from happening, but I can make my world wrapped up in your world a great place to be. And we have to understand this if we are going to navigate today and what's coming. You with me? So king called who? The Gibeonites. And spoke to them. And now the Gibeonites were not of the people of Israel, but of the remnant of the Amorites. Although the people of Israel had sworn to spare them, Saul had sought to strike them down in his zeal for the people of Israel and Judah. Now you know this story. When Joshua came into the land that God had promised them to conquer Canaan and do all that God had said he needed to do, these fellas showed up. They were dressed in old clothes, like they'd been on the road for weeks and months, and their food was moldy, and their sandals had holes in them. And they said, hey, we've come from a far-off place, and we've heard about you and your God, and we want to make a treaty with you. You remember this story? And did Joshua make a treaty with them? He did. But it turned out, my friends, that they hadn't come from a long way off. They had just gone into their closet and stomped on their clothes a little bit and found themselves some old shoes to wear, because they actually belonged to the nation of the Gibeonites, which at the top of the Dead Sea is just this swath that goes all the way to the sea. It like cuts the country in half. It's prime real estate. But Joshua had given his oath, and thereby, you friends who now understand corporate solidarity, if Joshua had given his oath, who gave the oath? The whole country. They were sworn by Joshua's word to not strike the Gibeonites. But see, Saul, he was a warrior, and he had big plans, and he was like very independently minded. And so apparently, even though it's not actually recorded in the scriptures what he did, he worked on wiping these people out. And now there was famine. So David goes to the Gibeonites, and he says, now, friends, I wish I were so smart in the things of the Word of God that I could explain this to you. So all we're going to do together is just let it sink in corporately. How's that? Because I can't explain it to you. When the famine happened, where did David go? He went to the Lord. But when the Lord gave him his answer about why the famine was happening, where did David go? He went to the Gibeonites. I don't understand this. Do not understand this. And I want us to remember, friends, that this is one of the big reasons why God did not want Israel to have a king. Think about it. Who was the only king that David had ever seen in action? Saul. In the days of the judges, when God was the king, when we were a theocracy, you didn't have to worry about political backdoor deals. You just saw one of those with Abner, right? You didn't have to worry about treaties and borders and all these things that make political, socioeconomical life so complicated. And we know that now because we live with it every day. God said, who is your king? I am. When they asked for a king, he told Samuel, he said, it's not you that they're rejecting, it's me. So friends, I beg you, if we're going to survive the days that we're living in, we've got to remember who our king is. We have to remember what country we belong to. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any pride in being an American or you shouldn't work hard for your neighbors. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you and I, whatever side of the aisle we stand on, red or blue, black or white, green or orange, if we cannot talk about race, if we cannot talk about politics, if we cannot talk about leadership in the walls of this building, in this community, where can we talk about it? Jesus said, by this shall all men and women know that you belong to me. That we have what? Love. So listen. Pray. Be a bridge in whatever place you find yourself in all of this turmoil. Are you with me? Now, the reason that David had gone to the Gibeonites is because he'd been indoctrinated by this idea that the country was guilty of something called blood guilt. Saul had done something corporately that the country was now guilty of, and I really think he should have asked the Lord what the answer to erasing the famine was, but for whatever reason, our good man, who sometimes made bad decisions, went to the Gibeonites, and here's what they said. He said to them, what can I do to make up for what Saul did so that you'll ask the Lord to be kind to his people again? He gave them way too much power, friends. But I think the enemy took advantage of something that was good about David. He was tender. He was empathetic. And he wanted his reign as king to be successful. So the Gibeonites said to him, we have no contest about silver or gold. In other words, you can't pay us. We're not interested in that. But against Saul and against his house, neither do we desire that any man be slain of Israel. And the king said to them, what will you then that I should do for you? And they answered the king, as for the man who destroyed us and plotted against us so that we have been, what's the word? Decimated. This was some serious little subterfuge that was going on with King Saul, and have no place anywhere in Israel. So you get this idea that if they set themselves up and settled sometimes, that he would chase them down and push them out, which you know he did that to David, so you know it's on his list of things that he does. So hand over, here's what they want. How many? 7 of his male descendants, and we will hang them before the Lord at Gibeah, the hometown of Saul, the Lord's chosen king. And man, what did David say? I'll do it. Ouch! Ouch. Now, the next text tells you that the king had mercy on Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan. Everybody remember who Jonathan was? David's right-hand man. The son of Saul, in light of the Lord's oath that he had taken between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul, because he and David had a pact. You'll take care of my offspring. So the Mephibosheth in this text is not Jonathan's son. Everybody clear? David left him out of it. And the king took the 2 sons of who, friends? Oh, there she is. Argal, Rizpah. The king took the 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she had borne to Saul, Armoni and Mephibosheth, different Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of the sister of Michal, the daughter of Saul, whom she had borne to Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Maholathite. How's that? And he handed them over to the Gibeonites. They executed them. Then they exposed their bodies on a hill before the Lord. All 7 of them fell together, and they were put to death during the first days of the harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. Severe, right? Very severe. Now watch what happens. Then Saul's concubine, Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, used sackcloth to make a shelter for herself on the rock where the corpses were, and she stayed there from the beginning of the what? The harvest until what? Until the latter rain. Until the autumn rains came. That's a long time, friends. That's months. That's months. Now, I tried not to use any art that was like really super duper graphic, so let's start with this one. There's 7 bodies up there. They've been executed and they've been hung up for people to see. How many of these boys belong to her? 2 belong to her. The other 5 belong to Merab, Saul's oldest daughter. Now watch. During the day, she would keep the birds away from the corpses. And at night, she would protect them from what? Goodness, wow. I want you to see this woman who built herself a tent out of sackcloth because she's in mourning. And now she has given herself a job. Now tell me, what was supposed to happen? If you died in Israel, what happened to you? They buried you by sunset normally. So it's hard for us to imagine. I mean, we can get into how gruesome this must have been and how sad and grief-stricken she must have been. But I am here to tell you, this is about the fabric of what she expected in terms of honor, in terms of her country. It's gone to smithereens. Imagine the vigil. Imagine the difficulty of that vigil. She's not making any protest because of the unjust nature in which they were executed. She understood corporate solidarity. She's saying, where's the king? How is it that this kind of dishonor has come to my land? And how is it that my sons are exposed and shamed like this? And she's not going home until somebody hears what she's saying. And so she spends her time. I don't know, I can't even imagine it. I mean, I don't even really like camping, because it's a little uncomfortable. And here she is, every day, every night, through the weather, making sure that nothing touches these men. Nothing. Fierce. She looks like a warrior in this painting, doesn't she? But I'm here to tell you, this was not easy. Not easy. It took endurance. It took a reordering of herself. But we know a little something about it in America. Just a little something about what she was feeling because of this place right here. Anybody ever been here? Doesn't matter what kind of weather it is. This is the place where we pay respect to the fallen. Where is it? Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. If you've never been there, take a trip when it's allowed. Because we know a little something about what it means. See, the scripture says this: a man might father 100 children and live for many years, so that the length of his life is long. But if his life does not overflow with goodness, and he doesn't what? Receive a proper burial. If you want to understand her passion, her pain, what she was standing for here in light of what her emerging country had become. Now watch what the right motives, in the right spirit, on your knees, begging God before what you know to be true and right, can do. When David was told that Aiah's daughter Rizpah, Saul's concubine, had done, watch. Because let me ask you a question, friends. And you're going to go home and read this later, I hope. Is it raining yet? Is the famine over? The answer is no. So we're just not liking the solution of David's, because it didn't accomplish what he thought it would. Did it? She's out there day and night taking care of these dead men, and it's not raining yet. David went and took the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. What? What? What does that have to do with anything? Don't you love the Bible? Sometimes it's so much fun. What does that have to do with anything? Watch. They had stolen them, the citizens of Jabesh Gilead, from the public square of Beth Shean, where the Philistines had hung them when? When Saul's family died, Jonathan right beside him, he and his sons died on that hill. The Philistines took their bodies and their armor. They hung them up inside the temple of their god, and then they hung them on the city wall. Sound familiar? Now, the folks from Jabesh Gilead, they understood what Ecclesiastes said. So they snuck off into Philistine territory, retrieved their bodies, burned them, took the bones, and buried them underneath a tamarisk tree. Because that is what respect demanded. So David, watching her, so let me ask you this. Is he comfortable with the decision he made? Is he feeling like everything's good? No, he's churning and thinking and regretting, because when his solution comes, it doesn't only include the 7 men that are on the hill. He's going back. He's like, I made a mistake, and I'm going to fix it. The bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan. And he had them brought from there, and they gathered up the bones of who? Her sons and his half-brothers. And they buried the bones of Saul and Jonathan, his son, in the country of Benjamin and Zelah, in the grave of Kish, Saul's father. Thus they did all that the king commanded. And after that, God was moved by entreaty for the land. So what does that mean, friends? It means it rained. So what about us? What do you think? Isn't that what we're waiting for? Friends, I want you to consider, because we've often thought of the latter rain as something so public, so dramatic, and I'm not saying it isn't that too. But this story teaches us that moving the king's heart is a very personal matter. And so I want you to feel like there's this wide road between you and heaven that maybe you never knew existed. That there is comfort, that there is strength, that there is change in the middle of living through what my nation has reaped for itself. And I want you to take this strangely gory story, and I want you to find strength and power in it for yourself, because God heard her. And he used her to move the heart of a king. Through the mills of God, though the mills of God grind slowly, yet they grind exceeding small. And what that means is that when God grinds things, he grinds them down to a fine dust. Though with patience he stands, waiting with exactness, grinds he all. God's justice is so merciful, friends. It moves so slowly, but it's so thorough. We're living in the middle of it. And so I just pray that as things look different here, that things will be different here. That in his mercy that he'll lead us to the place where we, the hearts of our family, our community, our nation, because Christ is the rock and the Spirit is the rain. Amen? All right. Now, since we can't, be a great big congregation of folks singing together, I got us a little choir to sing with, and I didn't think I could make it through this anyway. So let's try. All right, you guys. Turn it up, okay? Father, what can we say except that we're willing to be used